So, what does it actually mean to know something? We usually think of knowledge as this thing we just have. But what if it's way more than that? What if knowing is an achievement, something you can really take credit for? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. I mean, think about it like this. If you just randomly guess the winning lottery numbers, did you know them before the drawing? I think we'd all say, no way, that was just a crazy lucky guess. We have this gut feeling, right? That real knowledge has to be more than just accidentally stumbling onto the right answer. And that feeling, that intuition, is where today's big idea really takes off. We're going to explore a theory that completely reframes the conversation. It says that true knowledge isn't something you just fall into, it's something you actually accomplish. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of this theory. It's called virtue epistemology, and its whole point is that knowledge is about so much more than just having a correct belief. It's really about how you got there. So what in the world is virtue epistemology? Well, it's the idea that knowledge is an achievement, something you earn by using your intellectual virtues. And what are those? They're basically any reliable tool in your mental toolbox that helps you find the truth. Things like having a sharp memory, being able to focus, or just plain old intelligence. You know, when we think about Isaac Newton or Charles Darwin, we praise them for their discoveries, right? And for good reason. That's because their knowledge was a genuine achievement, a direct result of their virtues hard at work. Now, to make this idea really solid, philosophers like Ernst Sosa and Linda Zagzebski laid out some ground rules. They came up with 3 specific conditions that a belief absolutely has to meet to be considered real knowledge. The first 2 conditions here are pretty standard stuff in philosophy. For you to know something, well, it has to actually be true, and of course, you have to believe it. But it's this third condition that's the real game changer. It says your belief has to be true as a result of you using your intellectual virtues. That connection, that causal link, is everything. To really truly get this, we need a killer analogy. And lucky for us, the philosopher Ernst Sosa gave us a perfect one. The archer. Seriously, thinking about an archer aiming for a target is the best way to understand how a belief can aim for and hit the truth. Sosa puts it like this: a belief is a kind of performance. Just like an archer's shot is a performance aiming for the bullseye, your belief is what he calls an epistemic performance that's aiming for the truth. So the question then becomes, was it a good performance? To figure that out, Sosa gives us this handy little checklist he calls the 3 A's. First, was it accurate? For our archer, did the arrow hit the target? For your belief, is it actually true? Simple enough. Second, was it adroit? Was the archer skillful? Did you use your intellectual virtues well? And third, and listen up because this is the most important one, was it apt? Did the arrow hit the target because it was shot well? Is your belief true because you used your virtues? Okay, let's see this in action. Imagine an archer lets loose a really clumsy, awful shot. It's going way off. But then, out of nowhere, a huge gust of wind blows the arrow right into the bullseye. The shot was accurate, for sure, but it wasn't apt. The success had nothing to do with the archer's skill. It was a total fluke. And that is just like a lucky guess. It's not knowledge. Now for a trickier one. This time, the archer makes a really skillful, adroit shot. It's looking good. But at the same time, a little gust of wind also helps push it right into the center. So here, the shot is both accurate and adroit. But it's still not quite apt, because the success isn't fully because of the archer's skill. Part of it was just dumb luck from the wind. So again, not quite knowledge. And finally, the perfect shot. The archer skillfully aims, draws, and releases. The arrow flies perfectly true and sinks into the bullseye because, and only because, of the archer's incredible skill. No wind, no luck, just pure adroitness leading straight to accuracy. This shot is accurate, adroit, and apt. And that is the perfect illustration of what virtue epistemology says knowledge is. It's a success you can take full credit for. Okay, so this theory sounds pretty cool, right? But does it actually work? Let's put it to the test with a classic philosophical puzzle that has really tripped up other theories of knowledge. So here's the scenario. Meet Henry. He's driving through this place called Barn Country. But here's the catch. It's filled with super convincing fake barns. They're just fronts. By pure random chance, Henry stops his car in front of the one and only real barn in the whole place. He looks at it and thinks, hey, that's a barn. Now he has a true belief. But does he actually know it's a barn? It feels a little too lucky, doesn't it? This is where virtue epistemology just walks in and nails it. The problem is that Henry's belief feels like an accident, and the solution is beautifully simple. Henry's belief isn't knowledge because it's not apt. Sure, his belief is true, so it's accurate. And yeah, he used his eyes and his brain, so it was adroit, but his belief wasn't true because of his skills, it was true because of the sheer dumb luck of where he parked his car. His success is just like that first archer's shot that got blown onto the target by the wind. But wait a minute, this brings up another really interesting question. If knowledge needs intellectual virtues, what about animals? I mean, can a dog know you're about to grab the leash for a walk? And this is a pretty serious challenge, right? It feels like it would restrict knowledge only to us humans, which just doesn't seem right. We all have this strong sense that animals can and do know things. Well, Ernst Sosa has a really clever answer. He says, okay, let's make a distinction. He argues there are actually two types of knowledge. First, there's animal knowledge. This is an apt belief that you get from reliable abilities, like really sharp senses. Think of a hawk knowing exactly where a mouse is because of its incredible vision. But then there's reflective knowledge, which is the special kind humans have. This isn't just having an apt belief, it's also the ability to step back and think about how you know it, and to understand why your way of knowing is a good one. All right, so let's boil it all down. What are the big things to take away today? First, the main idea, knowledge is an achievement, not some happy accident. Second, the absolute key to it all is that a belief becomes knowledge when it's apt, when it's true because of your cognitive skills. And finally, this way of thinking gives us a really satisfying tool to solve some of those classic, head-scratching philosophical puzzles, like the barn country problem. And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. If knowledge really is an achievement that you earn through your own skills, what are the intellectual virtues that you use every single day? Are you curious, meticulous, maybe a really creative problem solver? Thinking about knowledge this way doesn't just solve old puzzles, it actually invites us to become better, more skillful thinkers in our own lives. Thanks so much for joining me.